Welcome back to XRP Insider, your trusted source for the latest updates, insights, and breaking news around XRP. Today's story is one that every XRP holder needs to hear carefully, because something interesting is unfolding in the market right now, and it's not just about price, it's about momentum, adoption, and the kind of signals that often appear before bigger moves. As of now, XRP is trading around the $1.39 to $1.40 level, showing stability and holding strong despite mixed sentiment across the broader crypto market. This kind of consolidation is often misunderstood by new investors, but experienced traders know that when a major asset holds its ground with strong volume, it usually means something bigger is building underneath the surface. And right now, XRP is showing exactly that kind of behavior. Now here's where things start to get really interesting. XRP is not just sitting quietly at this level, it's doing so with over $1 billion in daily trading volume, which tells us one very important thing. There is serious interest in this asset right now. When volume stays high during a consolidation phase, it means buyers and sellers are both active, and the market is preparing for a decisive move. This isn't the kind of slow, weak market that fades away. This is the kind of setup where momentum can shift quickly, especially when strong news starts backing it up. And speaking of news, one of the biggest developments right now is coming from a massive adoption angle that could change how people see XRP in everyday use. A major bullish catalyst that's catching attention is the integration of XRP into the Rakuten wallet ecosystem. Now, if you're not familiar, Rakuten is one of the largest digital platforms with millions of active users, and this integration means that over 44 million users now have access to XRP in a very practical way. They can convert loyalty points into XRP and use it across a wide network of merchants. This is not just speculation or hype. This is real-world utility being built into the system. When a cryptocurrency moves beyond trading and becomes something people can actually use in daily life, that's when its long-term value story starts getting stronger. And this move puts XRP directly into that category. At the same time, while retail adoption is expanding, something else is happening behind the scenes that deserves equal attention: whale activity. Reports indicate that around 90 million XRP tokens were recently moved to Coinbase. Now, whale movements are always watched closely because they often signal institutional behavior. It could mean preparation for selling, or it could be part of strategic repositioning. The key thing here is not to panic, but to understand that large players are actively involved in XRP right now. When whales move assets, they are usually responding to something bigger than short-term price fluctuations. They are positioning themselves based on expectations, and that's exactly why these movements matter. Another layer to this story comes from the regulatory side, and this is where things start aligning even more clearly for XRP's future. The CEO of Ripple has recently expressed optimism regarding the potential passage of the Clarity Act. If this legislation moves forward, it could bring much-needed regulatory clarity to the crypto space, especially in the United States. For years, uncertainty has been one of the biggest barriers holding back institutional investment in cryptocurrencies. But once clear rules are established, it opens the door for larger players to enter with confidence. And XRP, being one of the most established digital assets with strong ties to financial systems, stands to benefit significantly from that shift. On top of regulatory progress, there are also major technological developments that are quietly strengthening XRP's position in the global market. One of the most notable updates is Ripple's partnership with Korea's Kyobo Life. This partnership focuses on tokenizing government bond settlements, which is a huge step into the financial infrastructure space. This is not just about payments anymore. This is about integrating blockchain technology into traditional finance systems. When a cryptocurrency becomes part of how financial institutions operate, its relevance increases far beyond speculative trading. It becomes part of the system itself, and that's where long-term value truly starts to build. Now, if you step back and look at the bigger picture, you'll notice something important. XRP is currently sitting in a phase where multiple strong factors are coming together at the same time. You have growing adoption through platforms like Rakuten, increasing institutional attention reflected in whale movements, improving regulatory outlook, and expanding use cases in financial systems. This combination is not something that happens randomly. It usually marks a transition phase where an asset is preparing to move from one level of recognition to another. And historically, These phases have often led to significant price movements once the market fully reacts. At the same time, it's important to stay realistic and grounded. Markets don't move in straight lines, and even strong assets go through periods of uncertainty. XRP is no exception. While the fundamentals are strengthening, price action can still remain unpredictable in the short term. Traders may see fluctuations, temporary dips, or even moments where momentum seems to slow down, but that doesn't necessarily change the underlying story. In fact, many long-term investors see these periods as opportunities rather than setbacks, because they allow accumulation before the next major move begins. Another factor driving attention toward XRP right now is the growing social sentiment. Across platforms, discussions around XRP have increased significantly, especially following the Rakuten integration news. When an asset starts trending in conversations, it attracts new interest, and that can create a cycle where awareness leads to demand, and demand leads to price movement. Social sentiment alone doesn't drive markets, but it plays a powerful role in amplifying existing trends. And right now, XRP is benefiting from both strong fundamentals and rising attention at the same time. What makes this situation even more interesting is how XRP is positioning itself compared to other major cryptocurrencies. While Bitcoin often leads the market and Ethereum drives innovation in smart contracts, XRP is carving out its own space in global payments and financial integration. It's not trying to compete directly in the same areas. It's focusing on efficiency, speed, and real-world financial applications. This unique positioning is one of the reasons why XRP continues to stay relevant despite market cycles and regulatory challenges. It has a clear purpose, and that purpose is becoming more visible with each new development. Looking ahead, one of the key questions investors are asking is whether XRP can break out of its current range and move toward higher levels. While no one can predict exact price targets with certainty, the current setup suggests that the market is building energy. Consolidation near strong levels often acts as a base for future movement, and when that consolidation is supported by strong news and high volume, it increases the probability of a breakout scenario. The direction of that breakout will depend on how these developments continue to evolve, but the groundwork is clearly being laid. At the same time, institutional interest remains one of the most important factors to watch. As regulatory clarity improves and partnerships expand, larger financial players may start increasing their exposure to XRP. This is not something that happens overnight, but it happens gradually, often without immediate visibility. By the time it becomes obvious to the public, much of the positioning has already taken place. That's why understanding early signals, like whale movements and strategic partnerships, can provide valuable insights into where the market might be heading. For everyday investors, the key takeaway here is not just about price, it's about understanding the story behind the asset. XRP is not just another cryptocurrency moving up and down. It's part of a broader shift toward digital financial systems, cross-border payments, and blockchain-based infrastructure. And as that shift continues, assets that play a central role in that transformation are likely to gain more attention and value over time. XRP is positioning itself as one of those assets, and recent developments are reinforcing that narrative. At the same time, patience remains one of the most important qualities in this space. Markets test emotions, especially during periods of uncertainty. There will always be noise, conflicting opinions, and short-term volatility. But those who focus on fundamentals and long-term trends often find themselves better prepared for what comes next. XRP's journey has already seen ups and downs, but its continued relevance suggests that its story is far from over. As we move forward, all eyes will remain on how these developments unfold. Will adoption continue to grow? Will regulatory clarity become a reality? Will institutional players increase their involvement? These are the questions that will shape XRP's path in the coming months. And based on what we're seeing right now, the answers could be more impactful than many people expect. That's all for today's update on XRP Insider. Stay informed, stay patient, and keep watching the market closely, because moments like these often lead to the biggest opportunities.